Welcome back to the fourth lecture of my Ayurveda and nutrition series. My tooth is paining, the molars to the right top part of my mouth. Could be a cause of sense. Could be an effect of sensitivity. Okay, but okay, let's just focus on the lecture, I guess. Because again, test is coming. 19th we have Ayurveda, and on 18th for semester, four people we have this test. I think so. So in this one, we would be mainly talking about digestion and associated properties. So let's get started with it. Now, Agni. Now we know what Agni is, right? Fire. So we have something called the digestive fire, a philosophical term you can say, which is used to define the scientific working of the body in a way. Now, Agni is the term given in Ayurveda for the whole process of energy liberation through digestion at the level of the gastrointestinal tract and metabolism at the tissue level. So basically, it involves the processes of, again, see, ingestion, digestion, egestion, assimilation. These are the things which we have learned in digestive system. That Agni represents all of that, and that's why we have different types of Agni. Location, yeah, we can call it is in the stomach, but technically it is also in the mouth, right? Because digestion begins in the mouth, and we have the small and large intestines, and there will also be a role of the other organs which are helping side by side, right? Purpose is to break down the food. What kind of line am I drawing? I don't know. Well, okay. Break down the food, convert it into the nutrient plasma that is circulated throughout the body, nourishing the cells and tissues. All right. Now, there's another term for this Agni, which you find in the Bhagavad Gita. Can I write it properly? It is called Vaishwanar. Very slow with the mouse when it comes to writing. It's called Vaishwanar. And there is also this shloka. There is a pair of two shlokas which are to be sung or chanted before eating. Okay? The one is Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir, and, and another one is Aham Vaishwanara Bhutva. I don't remember them because I do this mantra. Harir Data, Harir Bhokta, Harir Annam Prajapati, Harir Bipra Sharirastu Bhumte Bhojayate Hari. I do this one, which I learned during Sri Satya Sai Balvika's classes. In group 1, I learned. So there are 13 types of Agnis. We have the Jataragni, which refers to the digestive process in the gastrointestinal tract. Now, where does digestion happen? Now, what is digestion? First, churning the food in the stomach, passing it on slowly in the small intestine, and using bile from the liver and the different enzymes from the pancreas to finally mix and break things down completely. Break them down into the nutrient at the nutrient level or to the nutrient level. That is digestion. The Agni, which represents this whole process, is called the Jataragni. Then we have the five Bhutagnis. It comes from Panchabhut. Bhut means element. What are the elements? Space, yeah, Akash. In Bengali, we will call it Akash, Batash, Agun, Jal, Mati. Agun or Ag means fire. Jal means water. Mati means soil. Batash means air. Akash means you can call space, the vacuum which is around, and the five elemental fires that process the elemental aspects of food corresponding to the five basic elements. So the thing is, in this philosophy, we consider that everything is made up of these five elements, right? Which means any food item will also be made up of these five items or elements, right? So we have five dedicated bhutagnis which process each of these elements of the food after the main digestion part is done. Okay, it is processed by the bhutagnis, and after this process is over, we have the seven agnis. Dhatu means tissue, basically. Now, dhatu does not mean tissue essentially. Like dhatu means metal or some other material, right? Usually. But what the things which were called dhatu with respect to the human body in that era, those things are today called tissues. Okay? We have seven tissue specific fires that convert the digested food into the respective bodily tissues, which we call assimilation. Extending on the Bhutagnis, now we have again five elemental Agnis, right? We have Prithvi Agni, it will metabolize the earth element in the food, and basically that element of the food is supposed to represent those qualities which are intrinsic to that element, right? So the earth element is responsible for building and maintaining solid structures of the body like bones, muscles, and tissues. Jal Agni processes the water element of the food which maintains the body's fluids such as plasma, blood, and other bodily secretions. Now, if you had to memorize things, you can just visualize it in this way, right? Prithvi, again, soil. If you remember that story where Ma Durga makes, actually, she models a doll which is then made alive by Narayan. And we have Ganesh taking birth like that, right? So things are being made from soil. So from that, you can correlate that soil is equivalent to the solid structures of the body. Jal, again, the liquid parts of the body. Agni reminds me of the king of the Pal dynasty. The last king he was, I think, or the second last. He was called Pal. That was his name. Terrible handwriting with the mouse, but okay. Basically, in that dynasty, the kings would have a name and Pal would be the surname. The first king was Gopal, and then we had some other Pals, right? Even today we have the surname Pal. But this particular king was called Pal. So yeah, Agni. It handles the fire element in the food, and it is critical for maintaining the body's temperature. You can correlate it with the heat element, right? The heat of the body, metabolic processes. And we can also correlate that Agni handles those parts of the food which in turn, replenishes or maintains the Agni, which we are already talking about. Okay. We have Vayu Agni, which manages the air element in the food, which is essential for the function of the respiratory system and the movement of substances within the body. Now, movement of substances, I think, we can also relate it with Jalagni because movement is associated with the blood, and here we are associating movement with the fact that the respiratory system gets oxygen, supplies it to the blood, which is then transported throughout the body. And again, carbon dioxide is collected by the lungs and then thrown out. So, based on this, you can associate it and keep it in your mind if you want to. And Akash Agni, which is the space element, it deals with the ether or the space element in the food, which is responsible for spaces within the body, such as the cavities and the channels. So how to associate? सारे तो हो गए. आकाश को वहां डालें. जहाँ खाली है शरीर में वहां डाल दो. ऐसे ही याद रख लो. And for the Dhatu Agnis, Now, I don't think it will be that easy to memorize so many things. And again, it's a 30-mark paper. So, do we need to memorize so much? I don't know. But see, we have Ras Dhatu Agni. Again, Ras means liquid, right? Responsible for the metabolism of plasma and lymph. We have Rakt Dhatu Agni, which is going to govern the transformation of plasma into blood cells. Now, how it is different? Here we are talking about the blood cells, and here we are talking about the liquid. So it's different. Mamsa Dhatu Agni, flesh, meat associated with the muscle. We can also talk about the skin under this category, can't we? Then we have Meda or Meda. I don't know how to pronounce this one. It is involved in the transformation of muscle tissue into fat. Okay. Asthi, we know what asthi means. We even keep asthi or put it in the Ganga after someone is dead. Asthi means bones, right? So it is responsible for the metabolism of fat into bone tissue. Wait, I didn't make this line. Even Control Z seems to not work, and I can find my pointer here. Does Control Z work? It does not. Okay, never mind. So metabolism of fat into bone tissue. Now see, if it becomes difficult to actually remember so much, you can just mention metabolizes the nutrients from digested food into the bone tissues, asthi to bone. You can relate it like this. Even I'm thinking how many I can remember till the exam though. Even I am thinking about that. We have Majja Dhatu Agni. It governs the transformation of bone into bone marrow and the nervous tissue. Does Majja come from Magaj? In Bengali or this time Mogoj? Does it exist in Hindi? I don't know. I think it does. Then also there is this. There are two terms popular in Bengali culture. If you are a Bengali, you will know that. Mogojastro. Magaj जैसे ब्रह्मास्त्र मगजास्त्र. And we have Mogoj Dholai. मगज की धुलाई करना. Brain washing, basically. These are two popular cultural terms. And we have Shukra Dhatu Agni. Shukra, I think it comes from Shukranu. And since Venus in astrology represents, along with other things, vitality and fertility, so the name comes like this. It manages the metabolism of bone marrow into reproductive tissues, that is, semen and ova. So basically, if we see one thing, there's a progression kind of thing, at least in Ayurveda, that first the food that is digested and the nutrients assimilated, first it is converted to ras or plasma and lymph. From that we get blood cells. Then further, as and when required, the blood cells are converted to muscles, muscles into fat, fat into bone, bone into marrow, marrow into reproductive tissues. Is there a way to correlate this? Let me just think about it. For example, if we start cutting through the skin, okay, by the way, there will be some mismatch here because normally the fatty layer, I think it's above the muscle, right? It's not below the muscle. But still, suppose I'm cutting through the skin, I find a blood vessel, I cut through it, I find liquid blood, okay? And inside the liquid blood, I find blood cells. So if I say one and if I say two, but see, the muscle tissue comes first, no? Whatever, then we have the muscle. What if I just go it some other way? If I start inside my blood vessel, we have the liquid, then we have the cells. Outside it, we have the muscle. Outside it, outside the muscle layer, we have the fatty layer. But again, the bone comes inside, right? The bone tissue is inside, it's not outside. Okay, we can't form a progression in this way. Alright, I was just thinking if we could make something out of this. But never mind. And again, four categories of Agni as a whole. Some Agni means balanced digestive fire. It means the Prakritis are in equilibrium. Visham Agni means irregular digestive fire. And okay, let me mention these, then I'll go deeper, little deeper. We have Tikshna Agni, which means intense digestive fire. Do we have to keep in mind these terminologies? Well, I think it also depends on the teacher, how strict he will be while checking. And we have Manda Agni, or mild digestive fire. Okay. Now, when it's Sam, it means everything is in equilibrium, which means there is no dosha. When there's irregular digestive fire, Visham Agni, seat of fire is dominated by Vat, which means the proportion of Vat has been disturbed, which means there is Vat dosha in the body. Similarly, for Tikshna Agni, it's Pith dosha kind of. For Manda Agni, it's Kaph dosha. Now, what is the way to correlate? So, say we have fire, okay? Along with fire, you add elements of space and air. Now, space is vacuum, right? It can extinguish the fire. So, one element is will try to extinguish the fire. The second element, what can air do? Oxygen can make the fire even more blazing. The carbon dioxide in the fire can make it go off. And air as a whole, if you blow air on a candle, the fire will become unstable. So the fire is irregular. We have one element of extinguishing factor and one element of mixed factor. As a result, we have irregular fire. Here, what happens? For Tikshna Agni, we have one element of extinguishing factor because water can extinguish fire, but we have one element of intensifying factor because fire itself is coming through Pitta Prakriti, right? So, if you see one thing, in Vishamagni, in Tikshna Agni, and in Manda Agni, one element of extinguishing fire is constant in all three. Along with it, what comes? Here we have air. So the irregularity factor, fire itself comes here, intensifying factor, and earth. If you put soil in fire, it will go off. It will be extinguished. So with Manda Agni, or in case of Kapha we have two elements of extinguishing factor. Hence, the fire's intensity goes down. Okay, this is how we can correlate. If we want to keep things in mind, we have to basically just keep in mind the elements associated with each prakriti, and then we are just good to go. Nothing extra to keep in mind in this aspect. And the final topic for this lecture, Agni timing. Basically, which uh, which prakriti is dominant during which time of the day. Okay, so pitta has what? Pitta has fire plus water, right? So pitta has the power to intensify our agni, and pitta is dominant from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. during the day. And that means what? It means we are fired up, if I have to say it like that. Also, our digestive power is the maximum. If digestive power is maximum, it also means that assimilation of food is maximum, which also means that when we have the food, we will derive the highest amount of energy, which we can further use for our work. So, during this time, 10 to 2, when Pitta is dominant, we have to strategize our bulk work, challenging work, and we can eat a lot. Okay, the pitta of the evening time is not evening, it's night time actually. Now of course you'll have to sleep or something, because Ayurveda particularly does not recommend that you get up at night, stay up at night. But we do, we students. It's a separate affair altogether, but you know that. So रात को क्या करना है भाई, सो जाना है और क्या. But सुबह के टाइम में, during this time, strategize. Okay, and if you want to keep this in mind, just have this pattern that we are supposed to wake up early and we are supposed to go to sleep early, right? So if you are waking up early during sunrise, from sunrise to 10 a.m., Kaf Prakriti is dominant, and similarly from sunset to 10 p.m., it's symmetric. What do you do after waking up? Light breakfast. Why? Because the fire is low in Kaf Prakriti or in Kaf Dosha. And if your Agni is low, is weak, you can't eat heavy. If you can't eat heavy, you can't work heavy. So light breakfast and do some light work basically, right? Light work. And all the other morning chores. If you have pujas, you can do that. If you like, people go for morning walk and running, people do it. Well, Ayurveda seems to say otherwise, but again, if you want to do things, you just do it, I guess. And similarly, from 2 to sunset and 2 to sunrise, this side and this side, again, we have irregular fire, right? So, even during this time, they are saying that, or Ayurveda says that, don't do that much of the heavy work. Thoda bahut chill. And if you're chilling, that means you try to use your brain more and your body less. And that's why they have mentioned here, like, make a task list for the next morning, exercise, light exercise, and, well, not light exercise necessarily, but you know what I mean. And light dinner, be with family, relax at night, because again, cuff is dominant. Moral of the story, this is very confusing. For the exam part of you can write what is supposed to be done, but otherwise, if you have a guru, maybe just follow him. If you can't follow him, maybe just see what works for you and follow your schedules accordingly. Like if you are in an IIT, classes begin at 8:30, so you plan accordingly. If you are in an evening college of Delhi University or Calcutta University, you plan accordingly. So follow your lifestyle. That's what we can say. In the modern world, again, it's tough to maintain all these things. But yeah, this is the concept which is there in Ayurveda. I can't find my pen once again. Okay, it's here. So that's it for this lecture. Best wishes for the upcoming exam. Only one exam will be left after this. And for the rest who don't have theory papers in their VAC, they have already gone home, many of them. So, yup. Take care. Bye. God bless you.